York's classic rock, Q1043.
Good morning to my good friend, Frank Siller. He is the chairman and CEO of Tunnel2towers. And in all transparency, we are recording this on Wednesday morning, the morning that began the monsooning. And here is Frank, who is on this 500-mile walk that started August 1st. I'll be joining him in Easton on Saturday. But he started the walk from the Pentagon, then to Shanksville, and ultimately to Ground Zero on September 11th. So, and this is all, of course, to draw attention, never forget, and also never forget the first responders who are continuing to ail and die. But Frank, the monsooning, what do you do in the rain? Here you're walking 15 miles a day, basically.
Gene Kelly did the right thing. He was singing in the rain. So I don't worry about the rain, to be quite frank with you. You know, I'll dress accordingly, but water is not a problem whatsoever. It is going to rain 4 to 6 inches today, but you know, there are obstacles. There were mountain obstacles, and I embraced them all. I love it. It doesn't matter to me whether it's 100 degrees, if it's raining, or if there's mountains up or down. It doesn't make a bit of difference. It's the least I can do to honor not just my brother, but all these great first responders who gave their lives on 9/11.
For those who don't know the story of Stephen Siller, he was an off-duty FDNYer when the word came about the towers being hit, and he put on his fire gear, full fire gear. What is it, 80, 90 pounds, Frank?
It's over 60 pounds.
Okay, 60 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
But the battery tunnel was closed. He runs through the battery tunnel because he couldn't drive, runs to the Twin Towers, where unfortunately he became one of the 343 heroes from the FDNY who lost their lives that day. And the Siller family, just days later, in his honor, in his memory, carrying forward his spirit and what he embodied, they formed Tunnel2towers, which has now given away for first responder families and catastrophically wounded veterans and Gold Star families. What is it, $250 million you have raised?
Yes, yes, and we've delivered 450 mortgage-free homes to either catastrophically injured service members, those who are giving their bodies for our country, giving them smart homes. Also for Gold Star families, those who die for our country that leave young families behind. If they have a home, we pay off their mortgage. But in many cases, they don't have a home because they've traveled base to base, and then they're overseas serving our country. And then they give their lives, and their family doesn't even have a place to stay. In 1 year, they have to be out of wherever they were. So we build them a mortgage-free home. And of course, for fallen first responders, firefighters and police officers that die in the line of duty that have young families left behind, we pay off their mortgages. So we're very proud of the work we're doing in honor of Stephen and all those, like I said, once again, that gave their lives for, and continue to give their lives for our country or our community.
And by the way, I just want to throw in here, $11 a month, your pledge. We need that, T2T.org. That's not a lot of money. $11 a month, T2T.org, to carry on this great work. But I got to hear about your experiences. What has been the absolute high point so far?
Well, it's hard to say that, Shelley, because it's all been very emotional and uplifting, and at times very sad. But you know, I'm surrounded by a great team. Number one, great people from the foundation itself. But people join us every day. You know, get out of the car, run over, take a picture, shake my hand, say thank you Tunnel2towers for what you're doing. We must never forget. And they yell out their cars, they honk their horns. And then many times, especially first responders in all these great small towns, and that's what I'm seeing, the beauty of America. I'm in 6 different states, and it's just so beautiful. they get out and walk with me. You know what I mean? And it's beautiful. Yesterday, like through 2 or 3 towns I went through, the police and fire department joined us, and they ate with us too. So I have New York City firefighters, Shelley, that come with me every single day. And when I finish my morning walk, 8 or 9 miles, let's say by like 9:30, whatever, they have brunch ready for me. They have they have brunch ready for me. I won't even tell you what I've been eating: pancakes, waffles. They got this beautiful waffle maker, and sausage, bacon, scrambled eggs, you name it, fruit, of course. So that's what happens after I'm finished the first 8 or 9 miles. Then I go out and I walk the rest of my day, and I come back, and then by 5 o'clock at night, these same firefighters have dinner ready for me and for our team. So I say I'm the only guy that's going to walk 537 miles and put weight on, because these guys have been incredible. But this is the spirit that I'm meeting everywhere I go. But if there is one day that I will never forget, of course, it's laying the wreath at the Pentagon and saying a prayer with my family, but also being at Shanksville on August 21st. I was with 40 New York City firefighters. And when I was with these great heroes and we were over at the concrete columns, we laid a rose at each one. Then we went to the location where Flight 93 was, the impact zone in Shanksville. And they have a beautiful big boulder there to represent that at the exact spot. And while I was there, I knelt down, and I knelt down to say a prayer, and I put my hand on the boulder, and I asked anybody who wants to join me. All 40 firefighters, we will kneel in there. We had our hands on this boulder, and we were saying the Lord's Prayer, and the emotion was pouring out of us. We were all thinking, I was thinking of my brother. I was thinking of all 40 of these heroes of Flight 93 for the first battle in the war on terror, where they took back that plane and brought it down. Todd Beamer, let's roll. And they took that plane down. They saved lives on the ground, American lives. And I was thinking of them, and I was thinking of all the firefighters that died at 9/11 in the towers and the police offices. And the emotion was just pouring out of all of us. And there's a moment that I will never forget the rest of my life.
As part of my 9/11 Stories podcast and YouTube series, I spoke with Terry Horniak, who was the in-flight coordinator for United Flight 93. So she knew the flight crew very well through the years. And she was on the phone with the flight crew as they were loading up the beverage cart with filled soda bottles, because they were preparing to storm the cockpit and throw these were the only weapons they had. I mean, just unbelievable stories of heroism, the ultimate inspiration.
These stories have to be told. These stories have to be told to our children, to our grandchildren, forever. There were so many acts of heroism that day. It is a sad day that because of what happened, we lost so many Americans, but it was an unbelievably patriotic day that so many Americans gave their lives while saving others, and they wanted to save others, like what my brother did. But so many other people did the same thing. And our foundation, Tunnel2towers Foundation, is successful for a couple of reasons. Number one, from the very beginning, we included everybody. We wanted to make sure we honored all the first responders who died on 9/11 and remembered all 2,977 Americans who died that day. We also are successful for the work we're doing, because we're building these smart homes for our most catastrophically injured service members, mortgage-free. And Gold Star families, we build them the mortgage-free homes, or pay off their mortgages, that gave their life for their country and leave young families behind. And last but not least, because my brother was a first responder, we make sure that we take care of all first responders throughout the United States that die while protecting their community, whether you're a police officer, firefighter, or any first responder. And they have young families left behind. So, when we ask people to donate, like you said in the beginning, $11 a month, know that $11 a month is going to go to these great families that made the ultimate sacrifice for us, for you, Shelley, for me. And yeah, I think because of the work we're doing and who we're doing it for, we are very successful delivering 200 mortgage-free homes this year alone. But Shelley, we have to do this every year, not just this year, every year. And that's why the fire department says many hands makes light work. So if many Americans come together, which they are joining us, but I need more. I need a lot more to join us on this mission. We could take care of all these families forever.
I'm speaking with Frank Siller. He is the CEO and chairman of Tunnel2towers. He is on his 500-mile Never Forget walk, which will end September 11th at Ground Zero. Do you have a specific time of day you're arriving? What is the scenario? What can we expect, and can we be there? Can the public be there?
Well, I will be early in the morning for sure, because I'd never want to get in the way of any other 9/11 family member down there. So whatever I do will be early in the morning. I will be walking through the tunnel, retracing Stephen's final heroic footsteps. I say I'll be doing it with sneakers on. Well, he did it with his gear on. And he came out the other side. He saw two buildings on fire, people jumping because they were faced with a terrible choice of burning or jumping. And then he made a decision to run into that building, and all I'll be doing is walking up. But in his honor, in honor of and memory of all those first responders, I'll be walking to Ten House, laying a wreath and saying a prayer there, which is right at Ground Zero. And I'll be accompanied, of course, with my family, my wife, my children, my grandchildren, my brothers, my sisters, my brother, because my other brother passed away a year and a half ago. So, and my sisters, their children and grandchildren. So there's a lot of Sillers, I will tell you that. And I'll be with other great Americans that will want to meet me on the Manhattan side, because I don't, there's not a large group that's going to be walking through the tunnel at that time. So to lay that wreath. So I'm proud of what we're going to be doing. I can't imagine what my emotions will be that day. I think about it. I'm overcome with those thoughts on a daily basis. But being there that day, I'm sure it'll be just what I know it will be. It'll be remembering my little brother and what he did that day.
I remember running through the Battery Tunnel on one of your Tunnel2towers run through the tunnel, which is of course coming up at the end of the month, right? The last weekend of the month.
September 26th.
Right. I can never forget the emotion of running through, and you come out in Manhattan and there are giant pictures identifying every single one of the 343 FDN wires we lost that day. The only thing I can liken it to, Frank, is when I was at Yad Vashem in Jerusalem, the Holocaust Memorial, when you walk out and you see the land of Israel, basically, after walking through this hell that showed you the hell of the Holocaust. It's just one of the most emotional moments. If you haven't joined that run, join that run. What and also I my hat's off to you for being the first on September 12th to read the names of the first responders we lost after 9/11 to 9/11 illnesses, because that number, the number of people we have lost to 9/11 illnesses overall has now passed the number of people we lost on 9/11 itself, not the first responders, but overall. And the hell goes on.
Yeah, close to the same number of first responders.
Right.
Actually, I think it is more by now, but we're going to read the names, if not all just as first responders, but all those who've died of 9/11 illnesses. We are paying off the mortgages, though, of our first responders that have died of 9/11 illnesses that leave young families behind. We just made that commitment this year. So we're proud to do that, to read those names. And we're also going to read the names on Veterans Day of all over 7,000 men and women in uniform that gave their lives for our country since the war on terror started 20 years ago. And of course, an additional 13 names, God rest their souls, that we just lost in Afghanistan this past week. So, and we're going to do something special for any of those families that fit our criteria. And we know there's one that's going to be giving birth shortly to their baby of one of those fallen Marines that died in Afghanistan.
Oh,
They'll never, that's right, never seen their child. So it's so emotional. So these are the families that we take care of, and we want to make sure we honor. So we'll read those names. And by the way, when you also come out of the tunnel the day of the run, and you see all the 343 firefighters, all the police officers, Port Authority police officers, banners, we also have the banners of all 7,000 men and women in uniform that gave their lives as well. So there's maybe a mile banners of the pictures that have given the life for our country. So it is emotional, and I suggest anybody who loves America should be there, because it is the most patriotic day you'll ever spend.
thank you so much for everything you do, Frank Siller. I will see you on Saturday in Easton, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning on the Jim Kerr Rock and Roll Morning Show, Q104.3.
New York's classic rock, Q104.3.